Sairam students, let's begin with the today's session, that is the third lecture of our history, chapter 2, from trade to territory, that is the company establishes power, right? Now let's go through the content once again. Here introduction we have learnt East India Company comes east, company rule expands, that also we have seen, and that only last topic was remaining, and setting up a new administration. Now East India Company comes east. Under that we have learnt about how East India Company begins trade in Bengal, how trade led to battles, and the Battle of Plassey we have seen in that. Even the Battle of Buxar was included in that. Then we learnt about the company officials become nabobs. Then the second topic that we have done is company rule expands. Under that you have learnt about the policy, that is subsidiary alliance, right? Then we saw the Tipu Sultan, the tiger of Mysore. In that we learnt about the Anglo-Mysore wars, right? In that Anglo-Mysore wars, in that fourth Anglo-Mysore war, the Tipu Sultan was killed. Okay, he was defending his capital, Seringapatam. With that, he has been killed, right? Then we saw the war with the Marathas. In that also we have learnt about the Anglo-Maratha wars, correct? Then we have learnt about the another policy, that is the claim to paramountcy. In that we saw paramountcy means the supreme authority was given only to the Britishers. They were the supreme in all that administrative work there. This is what we have learned. Now one more policy, that is the doctrine of lapse, and the next last topic, that is setting up a new administration, we are going to learn in this session today. Now the doctrine of lapse. Now what is that? This is also, see children, I told you that this is what the Britishers, they were trying to capture our country, not by military confrontations, right? By adopting different policies. One you have seen about the subsidiary alliance, and then we saw about the claim to paramountcy, and the third one was doctrine of lapse. Now the final wave of annexation occurred under Lord Dalhousie. The image has been given of Lord Dalhousie, who was the Governor General from 1848 to 1856. He devised a policy that came to be known as the doctrine of lapse. Now let's understand what is the content, what was the meaning of that policy. The doctrine declared that if any Indian ruler died without a male heir, his kingdom would lapse, that is, become part of the company territory. See, what does it mean if any ruler doesn't have the male heir? See, as we have learnt about the Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan, right? After Hyder Ali's death, the power was taken away by Tipu Sultan, that is his son, correct? But this policy was saying that if that ruler doesn't have, after the death of that ruler, if he doesn't have the natural male heir, then his kingdom would lapse, and that will be taken away by the company territory. So by following this policy of doctrine of lapse, so one kingdom after another was annexed simply by applying this. Okay, so we can see here Satara was annexed in the year 1848, then Sambalpur was annexed in the year 1850, then Udaipur in 1852, then Nagpur in 1853, and then Jhansi in 1854. This is what finally in 1856 also the company also took over Awadh. This time the British had an added argument. See, it was actually basically because of this doctrine of lapse. This Awadh was annexed in 1856, but they said they were obliged by duty to take over Awadh in order to free the people from the misgovernment of the Nawab. Enraged by the humiliating way in which the Nawab was deposed, the people of Awadh joined the great revolt that broke out in 1857. Now here I have given you the image of Rani Lakshmi Bai, that is Jhansi ki Rani, Queen of Jhansi. When she gave birth to a son, he couldn't survive and died after 4 months. Then Lakshmi Bai and Gangadhar Rao, they adopted Rao's cousin's son, that is Anand Rao, who was later renamed as Damodar. Soon after they adopted Anand, that is Maharaja died due to an illness in the year 1853. So at that time Rani Lakshmi Bai was just 18 at that time. But East India Company took advantage of that Maharaja's death and applied the doctrine of lapse to that also. Even they annexed Jhansi in the year 1854. Now here I have given you expansion of British territorial power in India. Now looking at this maps, you can compare. It has been given for the year 1797. See, wherever yellow is there, yellow shows you that the area is under the British rule. Now you can compare it with the year 1840. You can see the expansion of British rule is increasing, and then when you will compare it with 1857, see the yellow part, it's increasing. Now you can see the expansion of British rule, how they had expanded. Now coming to the next topic, that is setting up a new administration. Now what is the meaning of administration? That is like Britishers, after East India Company, they wanted to change their policies. That is, which policies? The process of activities or running a business or organization. So they want to run their company according to their terms and conditions. That is the reason they wanted new strategies, policies here to be adopted for their administration work. Under this, we are going to see about the company army and the conclusion in that. Now setting up a new administration. We have Warren Hastings, Governor General from 1773 to 1785. I think you all remember in chapter number 1 also we have learnt about the Warren Hastings, the first Governor General, right? Yeah. Was one of the important figure who played a significant role in the expansion of company power. By his time, the company had acquired power not only in Bengal but also in Bombay and Madras. So British territories were broadly divided into administrative units that were called as presidencies. There were 3 presidencies. One was Bengal Presidency, Madras Presidency and Bombay Presidency. Each presidency was ruled by a governor, but the supreme head of the administration was the Governor General. That means Governor General. Who was the Governor General? Warren Hastings. So Warren Hastings, the first Governor General, introduced several administrative reforms. They introduced the reforms not only in the sphere of justice but even in the sense of army. So the 2 things that the Britishers have focused here now in the administration work is the justice as well as on the army. Now, from 1772, a new system of justice was established. What was that? Each district was to have 2 courts. That is, a criminal court that was called as the Faujdari Adalat and a civil court that is called as the Diwani Adalat. Now here, what Maulvis and Hindu Pandits, they were interpreted Indian laws for the European district collectors who presided over the civil courts. Now criminal court means you all know very well, it is connected to the cases that are connected to crime, right? And the civil look after the taxes connected as well as the civil courts, that is property connected and all that things were included in civil courts. So the criminal courts were still under a Qazi. Now who is Qazi? Qazi means a judge, and a Mufti. Mufti means also a jurist of the Muslim community that is responsible for expounding the law that the Qazi would administer, but under the supervision of the collectors only. The main person was the collector here to look after the civil code as well as the criminal code. And criminal code was called as Faujdari Adalat, whereas civil court was called as Diwani Adalat. And who was presiding over the criminal court? Qazi and a Mufti. And whereas who was taken care by the civil court? Maulvis and Hindu Pandits. But to have the division of justice like this, was it so easy? Absolutely not. Now a major problem was that the Brahmin Pandits gave different interpretations of local laws based on different schools of Dharma Shastra. Now here, what is the meaning of Dharma Shastra? Dharma Shastra means a Sanskrit text that is prescribing about the social rules and the codes of behavior that the people should follow for the behavior purpose. To bring about uniformity in 1775, 11 Pandits were asked to compile a digest of Hindu's laws. Hindu laws, 11 Pandits were asked to write that digest of Hindu law. See, Hindu law means that will not be written in English, right? Definitely that will be either in Hindi or in other language. So there was one translator that who was translating this Hindu law to the digest and into English was N.B. Hellard. He translated the digest from Hindu laws to English. Okay. Then in 1778 also a code of Muslim laws was also compiled for the benefit of European judges. So under the Regulating Act of 1773, a new Supreme Court was established where a court of appeal, the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, that is the criminal court, was also set up at Calcutta. The principal figure in an Indian district was the collector. See, as the title suggests, like the main job was to, what is the work of collector? To collect revenue and taxes and maintain law and order in his district. But collector, he cannot go to each and every house to collect revenue by his own. So with the help of judges, police officers and darogas means also the police offices only. So his office, the main purpose here, the collector became the new center of power and patronage that steadily replaced the previous holders of authority. So whoever was the previous holder as the authority holder has changed to the collector only. So collector was the main figure here, principal figure. Okay, so this is what connected the administrative policies the Britishers at the East India Company implemented in the sphere of justice. Now moving to the next, I told you they have made the changes in two aspects, that is one in the injustice and second one in the company army. Now let's move to the second one, what they did in the company army here. Now colonial rule in India brought in some new ideas of administration and reform, but its power rested on its military strength. Now here the Mughal army was mainly composed of cavalry, that is called as Sawars. Sawars is a Hindi word, right? From here you can understand that meaning of Sawar. The trained soldiers on horseback. Here the image has been given to you. And the second one is infantry. Infantry is, that is pedal. Pedal means the walking. Foot soldiers. So they were given training in archery. Who was given training in archery? To the infantry, that is the foot soldiers. Archery and the use of the sword. The cavalry dominated the army and the Mughal state did not feel the need to have a large professionally trained infantry. The rural areas had a large number of armed peasants and the local zamindars often supplied the Mughals with pedal soldiers. See children, I have given you here the image of the cavalry, that is Sawars also, as well as that of the infantry, that is pedal soldiers. Now, a change occurred in the 18th century when Mughal successor states that Awadh and Banaras started recruiting peasants into their armies and training them as professional soldiers. Now, East India Company also adopted the same method, that is followed by the Awadh and Banaras. They want the professional soldiers. When it began recruitment for its own army, which came to be known as the Sepoy army. Now, this word Sepoy has come from the word Sipahi. Sipahi means, you all know very well, that is soldier. As warfare technology changed from the 1820, the cavalry requirements of the company's army declined. This is because the British Empire was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan and Egypt, where soldiers were armed with the muskets and matchlocks. Now, what is this muskets and matchlocks? See, they were not using only the swords and all this, but they were using the guns. Musket is, it's a heavy gun used by the infantry soldiers. You all know very well, infantry soldiers mean the soldiers that are pedal soldiers, foot soldiers, right? And matchlock is what? It's also a type of gun in which the powder was ignited by a match. So they were using that. The soldiers of the company's army had to keep pace with the changing military requirements, and its infantry regiments now become more important. So in the early 19th century, the British began to develop a uniform military culture. Now, what is that uniform military culture? See, you have seen the soldiers, the present soldiers, they all have the same uniform. Uniformity is maintained because of that uniform. So, even Britishers, they want the same pattern in their army. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style training, drill, and discipline that regulated their life far more than before. But often this created problems since caste and community feelings were ignored in building a force of professional soldiers. Could individuals so easily give up their caste and religious feelings? Was it possible for the Indians to give up in that way? No. Could they see themselves only as soldiers and not as the members of community? No. But what did the sepoys feel? How did they react to the changes in their lives and in their identity? That is their sense of who they were. Now the revolt of 1857 gives us a glimpse into the world of the sepoys. Now this we are going to learn in the future chapter, in the next chapter number 5, about this, the mutiny of sepoys. Now here we have come to a conclusion of this chapter. Thus we have seen the East India Company was transformed from a trading company to a territorial colonial power, right? The arrival of new steam technology in the early 19th century also aided this process. Till then it would take, initially actually it was taking for the Britishers to come to a country 6 to 7 months to travel to India by sea. But then the steamships, after the new technology that is of steamships, reduced the journey time to 3 weeks. Now you can imagine, from 6 to 8 months it has come only to 3 weeks, enabling more Britishers and their families to come to a far off country, that is to our country, India. In 1857, the company came to exercise direct rule over 63% of the territory and 78% of the population of Indian subcontinent. Now let's try to understand what does it mean. See, in 1857 the company was as a direct rule over 63% of our territory. It means by 1857 the 63% of our Indian territory were under the control of Britishers, that is East India Company. And inside that 63% of the territory, 78% of the population of our Indian subcontinent that were also under the British's rule, that is the East India Company's rule. So combined with its direct influence on the remaining territory and the population of the country, the East India Company had virtually the whole of India under its control. So, yes, students, let's have a quick recap. What have we done in this today's session? We have learnt about the policy, that doctrine of lapse, right? Then we saw the policies that the setting up a new administration that the company adopted. Company adopted the policies in the sense of justice as well as then the company army, right? Then we saw the conclusion of the chapter, that is how from trade to territory, like how the East India Company, they established power in our country, right? Now here is an activity for you all. Write about the policy of the doctrine of lapse and even write about the Mughal army. See, Mughal army was divided in two, right? You have to write that in your assignment sheet and keep it with you. Now, as you all know, we have completed with the chapter today here. So I'll request you all to just download the PDF of this chapter from the NCERT textbook link. Go through the chapter, read the chapter, write the important points of that so that can be used in the future. Okay, and one again reminder for you, the worksheets that are attached to each and every presentation, if you have not done, complete it as early as possible. Okay, and children, after this, one other presentation has been added after this. That presentation will tell you about the project that you will be doing during your summer vacation. So till then, take care and go through that presentation right now. Sai Ram students, this presentation is going to tell you about the project that you are going to do during your summer vacation. That is project of social science. Okay, so let's begin. Here the topic is given as debate. Now before going to that main topic, what is debate? Let's understand that. What is debate? Debate is a process that involves formal discussion on a particular topic. One topic will be given to you and the discussion will be carried on that topic. In a debate, opposing arguments are put forward to argue for opposing viewpoints. Debate occurs in public meetings, academic institutions, and legislative assemblies. It is a formal type of discussion, often with a moderator and an audience, in addition to the debate participants. Now, here are some examples of debates have been given you in the slide. Just go through that. Now, let's begin with the main topic. Topic for debate. Now, what is your topic for debate? Comparison of governments in the countries India, United Kingdom, Russia. Comparison of governments in India, United Kingdom and Russia. What you will be doing, the first step, collect and write information about the forms of government existing in these countries. These countries means the countries that I gave you previously, that is India, United Kingdom and Russia. Okay, first you have to write about the forms of government these countries have. Then after writing that, you have to understand the different forms that these countries have. Then write the advantages of the government you are in favor of. After writing the information about the forms of government, you have to understand it, and then you have to write the advantages of the government that you are in favor of. Write the disadvantages of other forms of government. See, you'll be favor of in one form of government, right? But the other forms of government, you'll be writing the disadvantages of that government. All this information is to be written either in the assignment sheet or full-scape paper. Assignment sheets, if you have of the last years, you can use that. Otherwise, if you don't have, you can write it on the full-scape paper also. Now, children, let me tell you the format of writing this project. The very first thing, you will write your name, standard, division that of the last year only, okay? School's name, okay? After writing all that important details related to your personal details, that is name, standard, division and school's name, you'll be coming to the main topic of debate, that is information about forms of government in the given countries. In the given countries means which countries? India, United Kingdom and Russia, right? Then after understanding that thoroughly, write the advantages of government you are in favor of and disadvantages of other forms of governments. Then the eighth one is bibliography. Bibliography is what? It is the resources from where you have collected, like for writing the information, the sources that you have referred, such as Wikipedia, textbooks or any other magazine, newspaper articles. So all that things will be included in bibliography. You have to write what you have referred for collecting the information. The information collected should be handwritten, that you are going to write it. Okay, whatever information we have told you, you have to write everything. Okay, so children, I hope you have understood the topic debate. Okay, you will be writing that information on full-scape paper or on assignment sheet, and I have given you the format also of writing, that is first write your name, standard, division, school's name, okay, and then the main format, that is the type of governments, the forms of government the countries have. Which countries have? India, United Kingdom and Russia, right? Then understand the forms of, you all know very well India has got the democratic type of government, right? But you have to find out in detail about the other two countries also, as well as write for the India also. Then you have to compare. Okay, after that you have to write the advantages of the government that you are in favor of. Okay, and disadvantages of the government that are the remaining one which you don't support. Okay, So after writing all the information, the main last topic you will write bibliography, that is the sources which you have referred for collecting this information. Okay, I hope you have understood how to proceed with this and how to write this. So write it and staple and keep it with you properly. Preserve it. As soon as the school will reopen, will be collected from you. Hope you have understood it very well. So children, do it very well. Enjoy your vacation and take care.